Apple has now released the Apple Watch Series 9 with finally a chip upgrade that brings the first performance boost we've seen to the Apple Watch in nearly 3 years. And if that didn't make it any more exciting, there's also a new Apple Watch Ultra 2 with that same chip and actually a few changes that I wasn't expecting. But with these new Apple Watches in the lineup with their faster S9 chip, are they really the ones that you should buy, or should you still consider just going for the cheaper Apple Watch SE, which was my top recommended Apple Watch for last year? Well, don't worry, because in this video, we're not only going to go over all the new features in the Apple Watch Series 9 and in the Apple Watch Ultra 2, but we're also going to revisit the Apple Watch SE and see, out of all the Apple Watches out there, which one is right for you. All right, let's look at the overall lineup because we have the new Series 9 starting at $399, the Apple Watch Ultra 2 at $799, and the old Apple Watch SE still in the lineup at $249. Now, we'll go over pricing and cellular configurations later in the video, but here's something I want you to notice. I want you to look at these watches and kind of look at their design. Now, the SE obviously has the oldest design out of all of them, and it has a smaller 40 and 44 millimeter display with bigger borders around the Apple Watch. The Series 9 gets rid of these bigger borders and has a screen that is more edge to edge with 41 and 45 millimeter sizing. Now, that would seem like it would be a much smaller display compared to the Apple Watch Ultra 2 if you look at the number, which is sized at 49 millimeters. But look at this comparison on Apple's website. Even though the Ultra 2 has a bigger display, you can see that the usable screen area really isn't that much more than what is offered on the Series 9. Now, the display sizes are just the start on what's different here, because all of these Apple Watches have a different display with different specs. Now, the SE has the worst display out of all of them. It doesn't have an always-on display, and it only gets to 1000 nits of brightness, and it even lacks the software features found on the bigger displays like a native keyboard. The Series 9 is a big step up from the SE and the older Series 8 display though. It can now get up to 2 times brighter at 2000 nits of screen brightness, which was the max brightness on the Apple Watch Ultra 1. Now, the Apple Watch Ultra 2 isn't sitting back and taking it easy this year, because one of the surprising things to me about this update this year is that the screen is actually getting even brighter, like an eye-searing 3000 nits. Yeah, 3000 nits of max brightness for what I assume will look amazing outside and blinding for intruders when they break into your home. Just try and do it! I'm gonna blind you with my Apple Watch Ultra. And I'm gonna fight you. I'm probably gonna run and hide. Seriously, Apple even says on their website, this is literally the brightest display that they have ever made on any product, and it's just sitting there on your wrist. Now, battery life is also a major deciding factor when buying these watches, and at first glance, it seems pretty easy to decipher the battery life ratings, with the SE and the Series 9 getting the same 18 hours of battery life. Well, call me skeptical, because, I'm gonna give you a little history lesson here. You see, Apple, since the original Apple Watch, has been touting the same 18 hours of battery life. But anyone who's had an older Apple Watch over the years knows that whenever Apple upgrades the chips in older Apple Watches, you would usually notice a pretty significant uptick in battery life. Still, Apple has never advertised the normal Apple Watches as having anything more than 18 hours of battery life, even though we have seen improvements in battery life. Now that the S9 chip is on a more efficient 5nm process, down from the 7nm process on the S8 chip, it stands to reason that with more efficiency, you should see a battery life boost on the Series 9 model. Now, yes, maybe some features like the brighter display could impact battery life on the Series 9 to offset those efficiency gains. But when you realistically think about how often your watch is on at full brightness, it's probably not that much. Also, the Series 9 and Ultra 2 can now dim to an even lower 1 nit of brightness in really dark situations, like when you're in a movie theater. So I feel like that has the potential to save even more battery life than these watches kind of did before if they were running at higher brightnesses at all times with their always-on display. Therefore, my good pupils, my students, it stands to reason that, at least for this year, I feel like the Series 9 should have a battery boost, and it might even be noticeable even if it's just an extra hour or two. So don't be fooled here. Even though Apple lists the battery life as the same for the Series 9 and the SE, I think the Series 9 will actually have better battery life than the SE. Now, if you want ultimate battery life, it's no contest because the Apple Watch Ultra 2 boasts double the battery life here, and as a proud owner of the Ultra 1, I can say that these battery life claims are absolutely true. This thing is an absolute monster in battery life with a 36-hour rating. Maybe we'll even see some battery life gains on the Ultra 2, which is kind of crazy. I should also note that fast charging is not available on the SE model, while both the Series 9 and Ultra get access to fast charging if you're using a USB-C to Apple Watch charging cable. Now let's go back to that S9 chip. While I talked about how it should have more efficiency, it also will have more power this year, resulting in the first speed boost for the Apple Watch in 3 years. And I feel like that is a pretty big deal. Now, Apple really didn't give us concrete stats for how much faster things will be with the new S9 CPU, but they did mention a 30% performance jump in the GPU, which is a pretty big jump. And they said that will lead to much smoother animations and navigation within watchOS 10. Now, it's hard to talk about the difference this performance boost will make without having, used any of these new Apple Watches, but I'll just say I think it should be a noticeable improvement based on how long it's taken us to get this performance boost upgrade. So if you're deciding between an SE or a Series 9, you may want to remember that the SE is still on the older S8 chip, which is technically a 3-year-old design. Now, the Series 9 and the Apple Watch Ultra 2, because they have that S9 chip, they will also get some new capabilities that will be exclusive to those watches. So all the S9 enables on-device Siri for faster responses, and it comes with a new ultra-wideband chip, which is more precise than the previous model. It will also now show what's playing on your HomePod if you bring your Apple Watch close to it. The S9 chip also enables a new double tap gesture where you pinch your thumb and index finger together twice to navigate and control the Apple Watch's user interface. Apple said this is helpful when your other hand is full, like when you're carrying groceries, or I guess in my case, when I'm, out walking the dog and I need to respond to things. I guess I'll be pretty useful. Now, it is a cool gesture, but don't be fooled here either, right? Because even though this is pitched as a new feature, if you already have an Apple Watch Series 4 or newer, Apple technically already has this feature on the current watches. It's called Assistive Touch and it's buried in the accessibility menu, but yeah, here's the feature working on a current Apple Watch. So if you thought this feature was cool, but you still have a perfectly fine Apple Watch or really wanted to use it on the Apple Watch SE, it technically can already be used. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm sure that on the S9 chip, this feature is likely faster and more responsive, which is why Apple is shipping it as a standard feature on these new watches, where maybe it's a little less accurate on older Apple Watch models. That's just my theory on why this is pitched as an exclusive S9 feature. And finally, another bundled-in feature with the Series 9 and Apple Watch Ultra 2 is even more storage. So last year, the Series 8 and Apple Watch Ultra and Apple Watch SE all came with 32 gigabytes of storage. This year, though, the Series 9 and Ultra 2 get bumped up to 64 gigabytes of storage. So that's kind of crazy too. I guess you can store a lot of music, podcasts, and audiobooks directly on your watch. Finally, let's talk about health features. Now, looking at the Series 9 and Apple Watch Ultra, they get the same exact health features with a heart sensor, a temperature sensor, a blood oxygen sensor, and an EKG on your wrist. The SE, on the other hand, it doesn't get those features. It even has an older generation heart sensor. So now for most users, the normal SE, it's still gonna be fine, right? It can still track your heart rate. It can still deliver high and low heart rate notifications, as well as support for features like fall detection and car crash detection. And all watches will accurately count steps and measure calories burned during workouts or throughout the day. So yeah, these are still all great watches for things like fitness, but if you are worried about health and you may benefit from these additional sensors, especially for something like the ECG, like if you have an irregular heartbeat condition, well, then you may want to consider upgrading to one of those watches with those capabilities. Now, for most of this video, I talked about the Ultra 2 and Series 9 in lockstep with each other because they really do have a lot of similar features. But let me quickly go over some of the few differences between these devices because tech specs don't tell the whole story. One of those differences is clearly design. Again, the Apple Watch Ultra 2 looks pretty different from all the other Apple Watches out there, and it even has exclusive features like the action button where you can map quick commands to it, and also has like a loud siren that can alert people to where you are. But it's also a bigger watch as well. So I feel like there is a little bit of an adjustment period to wearing it, especially if you have a smaller wrist. And I can tell you that the regular Apple Watch sizes are more comfortable to wear, but I am willing to make that slight trade in comfort for a reliable multi-day battery. And once you do get used to it, it does get, relatively comfortable. Like it's not a big deal, but like, again, it's a heavier watch, it's a bigger watch. The smaller watches are more comfortable. The Ultra 2 also has a more durable design than the Series 9 thanks to its titanium body and sapphire display. I've owned an Ultra for over a year now, and I've knocked this into a ton of things, like even like metal and steel, and I still think it looks pretty pristine, and the display has absolutely zero scratches on it, which is amazing considering, again, how many times I've scraped the face up against something. Now, yes, if you buy the higher end version of the Series 9, the stainless steel option does come with a sapphire display that will be much more scratch resistant than the aluminum model, which only ships with a glass display. Now, the Ultra 2 has some exclusive features as well, like more precise GPS for outdoor navigation and workout tracking, a depth gauge with water temperature sensing, which I kind of got to see in action in the summer when I was swimming. I was like, oh, cool, there's the temperature of the pool, and I'm like 2 feet deep. Cool. I would say for most people, these features, along with the more durable design of the Ultra, being able to withstand like higher and lower temperatures or being like 100 meters underwater, are probably more niche. And honestly, again, I've never really needed any of those expanded capabilities. But hey, if you're someone into extreme outdoor sports, you know who you are, and this watch was probably made for you. So you should probably just go out and get it if you're putting yourself in these extreme, crazy scenarios, which I don't know why sitting at home watching TV isn't thrilling enough for you. Maybe consider therapy instead of running out and trying to chase these thrills. Never mind, I'm not going to judge. I'm judging. Either way, what I'm trying to say here is if you are a regular person, the Series 9, or in that case, the Apple Watch SE, are going to be durable enough for your daily wear. If you really care about scratches on the display, though, you might want to get an Apple Watch with a sapphire display, because every Apple Watch I've owned with a sapphire display has never scratched, and every aluminum model I've had with a glass display has gotten at least some small micro scratches. Again, not like huge gashes, but you can see little scratches along the display. And if that bothers you, get the sapphire. Now, I think I got pretty much every difference out of the way for the Apple Watches. Oh, I guess there's new bands, like new Apple Watch bands that you might want to look at. You can pick which one you like. I'm not going to give you advice on that, but yeah, there's new bands. But yeah, other than that, these are all the differences. So which one should you buy? Well, unlike last year, where I didn't really recommend the Series 8 at all because of the lack of updates to the watch, this year I feel like I can recommend the Series 9 as the new default watch option. It's still a very similar watch to the Series 8, but it does get some much needed upgrades like the faster processor, which will be supported longer in future watchOS updates, as well as some exclusive S9 features and a brighter display with double the amount of storage, which I think I can once again recommend this as the default watch at its $400 price tag. Now, yes, while the Series 9 starts at $399, there's a lot of upgrades you can make here. With the 41 and 45 millimeter sizing, obviously you can pick the size you want. It's a $29 upgrade to pick the bigger size, but whatever. For cellular connectivity, it's an additional $100, so that's more of a pricing decision you have to make. If you want to use your watch when your iPhone isn't with you, I think it's kind of worth it. I like having cellular, but another thing you need to be made aware of is it's $100 and then you have to hook it up to a carrier, which is like $10 more a month. So it's kind of like a permanent payment that you're adding to your life. So think twice about that too. Finally, you can also spend $300 more to upgrade the case from aluminum to stainless steel, which also gets a sapphire display, which is more scratch resistant. Again, it's a pricey upgrade. It's not for everyone, but if you love the way this watch looks in stainless steel and you don't want that big Apple Watch Ultra, well, hey, I had one of these models before and I thought it was very, very nice. For budget-minded shoppers, the SE is still a good option at $249, but it is less of a good deal than it was a year ago, where I think it was the Apple Watch to get. It was like a no-brainer move because it had the same processing power as even Apple's most expensive Apple Watch, the Apple Watch Ultra, but now that's no longer the case. However, if you're new to the Apple Watch, I still think this is the one to get before you buy a watch with all the bells and whistles. You should know if you like the Apple Watch experience first. And one of my favorite things about the SE is if you want a watch that can be used away from your iPhone on a cellular connection, well, it's only a $50 upgrade on the SE, while it is a $100 upgrade on the Series 9 for that cellular model. So that's kind of like a nice little thing if you're going for the SE as well. And while there's some new features with the Series 9, the biggest updates this year actually come software-wise with watchOS 10, which the Apple Watch SE will get alongside all of the other Apple Watches, I believe, back to the Series 4. As for the Ultra 2, I still think it's a good watch. It's clearly not for everyone, but I really think this is the watch for people that love their current Apple Watch to the point where they want one that will last for multiple days on a single charge. I also think it's great for users that plan to not buy a new watch every year. Like if you buy an Ultra and hang on to it for like the next 5 years, it should age pretty well because of the titanium material, the sapphire display, and a bigger battery, which means its battery health will age better throughout the years. Now, one thing I want to answer for current Apple Watch owners is, should you upgrade? Well, listen, if you own a Series 8 or an Apple Watch Ultra 1, I don't think there's enough here to recommend an upgrade. But if you're on an older Apple Watch, like a Series 5 or older, or maybe even something like a Series 6, I think there are enough reasons this year to upgrade because of that S9 chip. It's not every year Apple updates the Apple Watch performance, and this year, being one of those years where they did, it does make it worth consideration. And that coupled together with a few additional changes and subsequent changes from previous Apple Watch upgrades probably makes this Apple Watch worthy of an upgrade purchase. But let me know in the comments below, do you plan on upgrading to any of the new Apple Watches this year? And if you are, which Apple Watch are you planning on getting? As always, I hope you found this video informative. If you did, please don't forget to give me a like, subscribe for a full review coming in the next few weeks, and I will catch you in the next one.